Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. Today we're going to do a spirit channeled message using astrogallomancy from Levine's Dharma Punx. So we'll go ahead and grab the dice and see which chapter to read. These are relatively short chapters. All right. Spirit, what guidance do you have for the general collective at this time, for whom it'll resonate for whenever the time is divine? Please and thank you so much. You rock. Ooh, I almost fell off the table. 3. Wanted to kick the bucket there for a second. And of course I throw it, right? Here, let me fix that. That was 11. That might mean something for somebody. Talk about chaos. All right. All right. So I am feeling 143. Adding up the 3 and 11 and breaking down the 12. 143. What is closest to 143? All right, chapter 16, Wanderlust. This is a longer chapter. So I'll read just a couple pages. One of the few longer chapters in the book. Where are you? Wanderlust. Going to the Far East clearly represented a pilgrimage for me. I wanted to experience the places that had birthed the spiritual traditions I had dedicated the last several years of my life to studying and practicing. I called my dad's friends Ram Dass and Jack Kornfeld, and they both gave me all sorts of advice and suggested places to visit. Ram Dass, who is one of the most influential spiritual teachers in America, having introduced tens of thousands of hippies to serious spiritual practice in the 60s, with his foundation-laying book, Be Here Now, even wrote me a letter of introduction so that I could stay at the ashrams of Neem Karoli, his teacher, around India. Jack told me all about the Buddhist monasteries in Thailand and Burma, and where I could ordain if I wanted to, and told me about a book that I could get that was a guide to the monasteries and meditation centers in Southeast Asia. I was really excited about going. I was looking for enlightenment all the way. Mika was a little less interested in the whole monastery and ashram circuit and seemed to be just checking into everything out. He certainly planned to do some retreat practice and in particular to visit a Sufi mosque in Delhi. We had all been reading a lot of Hazrat Inayat Khan books about the universal Sufi tradition and wanted to visit his tomb. Mika always seemed to lean toward the mystical teachings of Islam. Vinny was just up for anything, the whole experience, but when it came down to it, he was more aligned with Mika's agenda than mine. I think I was beginning to push them away a bit. I was so focused on going and getting enlightened or being a monk that I had some attitude with them because they didn't share my purpose. Maybe I was still playing out some of the drama from my relationship with Matthew, trying to be and look and act spiritual because I was still not convinced that I was okay just as I was. Before we left, we got a lot of attention from our friends, coworkers, and families. We were the first kids in the Santa Cruz Punx skiing and recovering community to go off to Asia. Some of our friends were really impressed and others thought we were fucking insane. All of my meditation teachers in the group that I meditated with were very supportive of my desire to go deeper in my practice. I had to tell the guys I was helping with the steps to get new sponsors because I had no idea when I would be back. A few nights before we left, there was a party at my ex-girlfriend Lola's house. We all went, and it was very cool but sort of strange for me. I knew that I still loved this woman, and yet I was heading off to Asia to renounce the material world. A part of me was already gone, but when I saw her, I knew that I would really miss her. A part of me was still holding on to the possibility of our relationship. She was obviously sad to see me go, but playing it cool, joking around about how I was going to get enlightened and all that stuff. The party was fun. I felt a little bad because it was her party, but everyone seemed to be focusing on us and our trip. Vinny was in a similar situation with this girl, Jennifer, he had been seeing. They really liked each other, yet he was leaving, and not sure when he would be back. Mika was the only one without much attachment. He had gotten his heart broken about a year earlier, and hadn't been in a relationship since. So the three of us, each in our own way, said goodbye to family and friends, and embarked on a journey that would change us all forever. The week before we left, I went to New Mexico to say goodbye to my parents, Stephen and Andrea. Andrea picked me up at the airport in Albuquerque. She looked beautiful wearing her favorite sweatshirt, jeans, and a pair of Converse. On the 3-hour drive toward Taos, we spoke of how everything was going in our lives. She said that she was excited for my big adventure overseas. We caught up on all the family gossip. I spoke about my other mom, Patty, and Aaron and Becky, my younger brother and sister. She told me about her visit with James and what was happening with my big sister, Tara. When we arrived at their home in the mountains of northern New Mexico, the sun was setting on the plains below. We were greeted by my parents, 3 Rottweilers, and my dad. Stephen embraced me and gave me a big kiss. It felt so good to be home, although I had never lived at the house they now lived in. They had moved out of town and into the boondocks as soon as the kids had moved out many years earlier. We made our way to the couches in the living room, and that's where we stayed for most of my visit. Over the previous several years of my life, I had been attending their workshops, reading their books, and had adopted more of a student attitude towards them than the rebellious child I had previously incarnated as. To be with them for a few days was almost like being on retreat, except for the TV. They were doing a practice that they called a year to live, which called for the very intentionally and consciously living as if you only have a year left of your life, and writing a new book about this experience of consciously turning toward death. We spoke at length about death, healing, and spiritual practice, as well as all the other things that mattered to us. They were both empathetic about my breakup with Lola, but said that they had the feeling that that one wasn't going to work out. I was really interested in their dying practice. I think a part of me was also preparing to die. I was about to embark on a journey into unfamiliar territory, the exotic temples and foreign lands of the Far East. The night I flew back to California, I was picked up at the airport by Vinny, Mika, and my friend Jimmy. We had a few hours before our flight, so we all went into San Francisco for dinner at Viva, our favorite Italian restaurant in North Beach. It felt like the Last Supper for a bunch of hooligans sitting around at a big table, laughing until we were crying. I was so excited and so nervous, I almost made myself sick. There you go, guys. Have a great day.